Everybody, hey everybody, it's John Brown, the one and only Bandana Gamer, coming to you today with Contravania, smashing up the things we love and seeing how they look together. I am joined today by two of the best YouTubers in the entire world. I mean, really, like, this is the pinnacle. Anything else I do on YouTube will never top this because of the elite caliber of guests and friends I have today. So I'm going to start off with who's on my left. Yeah, left. That's the one that makes the L. And that's 8BitGlitch79. How you doing, 8-Bit?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
How's life? What's going on in the short term?
Oh, doing great. Collecting things I love and working hard.
Cool. And right below us, the guy who sneezes and beats a game. The guy who trips into credit rolls. The man who woke up this morning and no death run 14 games, I'm assuming. That is MEGADAN29. How you doing, Megadan?
Really good, man. Thanks for having me on here. This is awesome.
Dude, it is all my pleasure. I hope life is going well with you.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. We're actually redo a room in the basement, so we're going to be really busy next week. And collecting-wise, I'm, as you know, which we'll get into, I'm sure, I'm taking on trying to get some heavy hitters.
Yes. You and I are actually in that same field, and we're kind of going for some of the same things, so...
Yeah, pretty cool.
If you were physically here...
Don't do it.
No. Yeah, stop going after what I want.
Yeah.
But this is already going off to a great start. Beat ourselves. But, yeah, I wanted to get into collecting. Of course, well, I'm Bandana, and I'm doing great as well. Life is just peachy. I mean, just could not get any better. It's sweet. I'm collecting things. Recent pickups are inspired by you two guys and your love of Contra. And so I picked up Contra Hardcore. And,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, this will come out after the next thing. I may have picked up Contra 3 for the SNES from a very special service that some of us subscribe to, and I will leave that for an unboxing video at a later date.
You gonna stream that?
I don't know if I'm going to stream that one.
Okay.
Just because I'm definitely not going to stream Contra Hardcore. I have not gotten past the first level of Contra Hardcore. Hardcore is the most aptly named game I have ever encountered. It's great, and I want to be very clear. Like, I love that and Castlevania Bloodlines, because like those series feel like Castlevania and Contra, but they also like feel like they're on the Genesis, and I like the color palette.
Yeah,
the sound, like they use the sound chip to create those soundtracks. Chef's kiss.
Definitely.
Yes. So getting into that. Let's start with you, Dan. You've already talked about what are the heavy hitters you're going after.
Well, I just took care of one, which I'll go ahead and say on here. That's fine. I actually scooped up for 140. I got Castlevania Legends on the Game Boy. You have that one yet? I'm thinking no. Huh?
I don't.
Okay.
But I've been looking at that one.
I've just tried it like momentarily. It's really good. Because one thing about me with heavy hitters is I'm only going to get ones that are good that I actually want to play. I don't want to buy like Action 52.
Yeah.
Why would I want that?
That in itself right there has shifted my thinking on collecting in a big way. Were
you originally just going to get everything?
It depends. Like, I was kind of just grabbing for a while and just kind of going hogs wild, and then I finally had to take a step back. Mainly space. Like, space is finite. And we live in a decent sized house, but like I don't want to be tripping over video games. And
for sure.
I personally I don't know, like this is just my thing. Like I don't like storing video games. Like I don't like them being in a box in the garage.
Oh yeah,
I want them on my shelf.
Yeah.
And if I don't have the shelf space, like it really bugs me.
Sure.
But yeah, I was going for a complete Wii U collection.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
I got like 120. I think there's 160, 170 games in the Wii U set.
Oh, you're close then.
I got 120, but then
you got nasty ones left.
Yeah, it's Turbo the Snail, really. Turbo the Racing Snail, which is a licensed DreamWorks game, and it's like $200 now, and I'm like, I don't.
Is it garbage?
I don't like. I've never heard anything about it. It's it's just buying it to have. And I think I've.
So what you're saying is you went from wanting a complete set and then kind of talking to me. You're like, maybe I'll only get what's good.
Yeah, basically you ruined my life.
Gotcha.
No,
gotcha. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, like honestly. So I do want to throw out like one of the things that brought us together is Siege, Southeast Game Exchange, and really the thing that did it was buying. I bought Castlevania Dracula.
That was awesome.
And that was a great buy. And if you're watching my channel right now, you know that I'm trying to get my money worth out of that game. And I mean, I'm loving every minute of it. Like
really good streams, by the way.
Yeah, I streamed stage 6, and I never got past stage 6 in like an hour.
Yeah. It's awesome watching the grind, though.
But I'm still loving it. And I was like, but it was so hard to pull that $300 trigger. And even though like I had sold stuff, and so I had that money like specifically for games. I'd sold games to buy games, which I believe my boy 8-Bit over there is kind of got his philosophy. So maybe we'll get a little bit of that later. It was still like, man, this is a lot. This like I have my Xbox Series S right here, and that's the same cost. Like that's the same cost as a system. And so I started thinking like, man, and this is not to say I am looking down at people who are going for a complete Wii U set or any complete set.
For sure.
I believe our boy Captain Algebra, your tag team partner, is going for a complete Genesis set that he will probably...
I can't believe he's taking that on.
He will probably finish that when we're all 76. But I just I got to the point I'm like, I don't want to pull that trigger with something I don't love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I've gotten to it. I think I have stolen a little bit of that philosophy from you in terms of collecting, like, the heavy hitter. Like, I am in a place where I want to go for bigger games, heavy hitter games, and games like, even if I just want to be like, check out this. Like, Dracula X is just, that whole experience. Awesome. That game is awesome, but also just having it.
Yeah, I think me and you are also huge Castlevania fans. You more than me, I think. That's what I'm getting from that.
I have my Castlevania love has skyrocketed in this year.
Yeah, that you gotta. It's awesome having that. Man.
Yeah,
and I would say the next game I want. I really want Chippendale's Rescue Rangers 2, but once again, it's like you said. That's one that's up to $230, $250, and then you look at stuff like an Xbox and go, man, there's this NES game that takes probably 40 minutes to beat, and I'm gonna get something that's the same price as a system. But here's my thing, and I'll say this real quick: is what made me start doing this though, and really being honest about it, is the prices. Every time I go to these conventions, my wife pointed out, they just keep going up, man. And so you go there. And you're like, oh my god, I could have had that when it was $100, and now it's $300. Dude, Dracula X is a perfect example of the game that 2 years ago was like $110. Tony, back in the day, gamer, bought it, and look at it now. It's insane. So you don't want it to get out of your reach. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's and we might talk about prices later. But yeah, you're right, and I definitely dug what you said. Like you talked about, especially the big series. Like I'm with you. I think game prices as a whole feel inflated right now. Mm-hmm. I do think we're going to see some deflating, but I don't think the big series will deflate as much as the rest of the market.
Not the big ones, I don't think. We'll see. I hope so. I'll pick up more of them. But
if I want to pick up 3 more copies of Dracula X, I'd love to do so.
Make a coffee table out of Dracula X.
No, that I'll make my casket out of Dracula X. Now that'd be awesome. That's super fan right there. So
we have no money for the funeral, but we got the casket.
Our power's getting cut off, but man, those cartridges look sweet. When the sunlight hits the room just right.
Great.
So 8-Bit, man, let's talk a little bit. But you picked up a heavy hitter at Siege. How have you played any of your DuckTales 2?
I haven't. I played it enough to test to make sure it works.
Yeah,
because that's one thing you do at a con. It's hard to test stuff. So all the way home, I'm like stressing about all these heavy hitters I got, and I'm like, oh god, I have to spend all this money for a broken cart or something. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's kind of nicer to be able to see and hold it instead of like say like eBay where you're just like looking at a picture and who knows what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
you know. So at least I knew it was legit kind of a thing. But yeah. So yeah, DuckTales 2 was one of the hitters, and I got that basically solely by I brought 2 GameCube games and sold them there at the convention and took that money and bought DuckTales 2 with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was 2 games I wasn't connected to emotionally at all, and I got good deals on them. Like one of them I paid $5 on Facebook, and it was like $100 and something game. You know what I mean? So
which one was that, Sean?
That was the Pokemon XD.
Good for you, man.
Veil of Darkness. Pokemon, I could give a crap about.
Me either, dude.
I came up on Facebook a year ago, and they're like, it was with a bunch of games. It was like Xbox and Xbox 360, and the one GameCube game in the center was that one. And it was like $5 each for every game.
Nicely done, man.
I will take that Pokemon. I'll be there in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I will say,
because I knew I didn't want it. It's not a game I wanted, but I was like.
But you just knew it was.
I knew I could turn that into some gold. You know what I mean?
Pokemon is trade bait always. Like,
yeah.
Now I personally do want to say I love Pokemon.
Okay.
I've been throwing on Red. I might start streaming Red here in a little while because it's just a fun game to grind and talk to. But Sean, you hit on something like emotional connection. And I think that's kind of what has been hitting on me. What sparks an emotional connection to a game for you?
For me,
yeah,
it's got to remind me of my childhood or a memory, or like an instance of DuckTales 2. I never played that. I didn't know it existed until like 8 years ago or something like that. You know what I mean? But DuckTales has always been a part of my childhood. You know, I'd always watch the cartoon and Disney stuff in general. You know, so when I see Disney things, it reminds me of my childhood because Disney movies and all that stuff was a big part of my childhood and stuff. And so I would always watch the Mickey cartoons and all that. Whenever I got I'd rent those as a kid on VHS tapes. You know, all the Chip and Dale cartoons and Mickey cartoons, even before DuckTales stuff and got big. And so I had that connection with that. And it's a game that's good. I mean, I know it's good. It's just
it is good. It is good.
That's why I wanted to pick it up. And he mentioned Chip and Dale's too. That's the only one I need to finish the whole Capcom Disney set on the NES. So.
Now don't you be butting in with
All right, so next convention that we're all at, 3-way cage match.
It's a race to the
winner takes. Well, actually, that'll be a great video. That'll be great content. Us like backstabbing and
trying to get it first.
Trying to get games over the other.
Oh God! If you want to hear something funny? When I got back from Siege, I'm trying to remember. I took a ride. I had to take a ride somewhere, and it happened to be by a retro store that I go to once in a while because it's kind of a bit of a drive. But it happened to be out in that area. And this is literally like the day after I got back from Siege or the next 2 days or something. In my life, I've never seen DuckTales 2 in my area, like in person, anywhere. Any store, any convention, anything. Yeah. I walked into that store. Guess what they had? Copy of DuckTales 2. Guess what was right next to it? Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers 2 with the manual. They wanted $500 for Chip and Dale's 2 with the manual.
$500.
I was just like, wow. They wanted like $325 for DuckTales 2. So I got a deal on it at Siege based on that. Yeah. So
nice.
But it was just weird that I'd never seen the cart in my life in my area. And then I buy it in South Carolina 2 days later or whatever. Yeah. There it is in my backyard with the other one that I need.
What's the next one you want then? Chippendales?
Yeah.
That's the next one you're trying to get?
Probably. I'm leaning towards that. I've actually already been like looking on eBay and it's going for like crazy amounts on eBay. Like
you guys ever heard of Frankenstein on the NES?
No.
Talk to me about it.
Frankenstein's the next one I want. It's very much like Castlevania, but you have a sword.
Okay.
It's pretty
I've
cool.
seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, AVGN did Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Episode. Yeah. I want that one too.
Is that Frankenstein based on like that 90s movie with...
I don't think it's based on any movie.
Okay.
It just has all of the old horror movie guys in it. And
Okay.
Frankenstein is the main bad guy.
Okay. Oh, he's the bad guy, so you're not playing him.
Yeah, he's the boss at the end.
Okay.
It's not like that Super Nintendo game, Franken something, where you're
Yeah, the goofy one.
Yeah.
Nice.
For
So,
sure.
well, first of all, like, I gotta go back because 8-Bit Glitch talks about going and seeing a copy in the wild. Yeah, like, so right after I got Dracula X, the thing that floored me is one of my buddies got it as a gift. Like, just, you know, I spent this money, and then, like,
Who's that?
I'm watching an unboxing video of one of my good friends, and he's like, whoa! And I'm like, if that mother owns Dracula X, I'm gonna drive to Illinois.
Real cool game there, Dan.
Yeah, great for you, bud. I'm so happy you're popular.
Oh,
No, but
that was too good.
I do want to say that was a cool moment, and I was stoked for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just,
But the podcast just ends.
yeah.
Yeah.
This hypothetical cutthroat game at
Right.
the next convention. 2 YouTubers killed, one dancing over the 2 lifeless bodies.
Oh
Holding
man,
a-
you cracked me up, dude.
Holding a copy of Chippendales 2. Who's the king now?
Yeah.
Man, they're gonna blame video games for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me ask you guys this. It was something Sean was talking about, and I always think that this is, well, the more I go on, the more I realize that I kind of have a different opinion on this. And Sean was saying when you buy off of eBay, you're not able to see it necessarily because they can have default pictures, or I mean, sometimes they blatantly lie, and that's not it. And then when you go to a convention, the good thing is you can see it, but then you don't know if it works or not. And the difference is, well, you might say, well, on eBay, it might not work either. But the thing is, you have an eBay guarantee of like getting your money back, and they'll always get you your stuff back if it's not what you wanted. Say you get it and it's fake or it doesn't work. You can report to them and they'll give you your money back. If that happens to you at a convention, most of the time, unless you got some kind of business card, you're kind of SOL, man. You know what I mean? You don't know who these people are. You don't know how to catch them, and you're pretty much SOL. So how do you guys feel about buying it off of eBay versus a store, like where you say, not a store, but like at a convention like Sean, where you were driving home like, I hope this works. I hope this works so much, because you can never test it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do
Unless
you
I
guys feel
bring
about
an
that?
NES and do
Right, and they usually don't. You think they would more often. You know that's something cool real quick, like at a gaming convention. Wouldn't it be cool if they had a kiosk set up to go test things? Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can I bring it over to the kiosk? Can we make sure it works? Sure,
Or-
man. You know?
Is that a new business we start, and we we go to conventions?
Yeah,
and set up,
edit
like,
that
5
part out.
CRTs,
Yeah.
charge people $5 a minute for a
Yeah,
system,
there you go.
and just like so they can test their games.
Yeah.
Dude, we may have just off
Seriously,
with the
edit that
podcast. Never mind. Like,
A mobile free play, but you can put the games in that you want.
Yeah, test it out.
Like, test your games.
We'll clean them. We'll test them for you. Then you can make your purchase.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, honestly, the vendors should pay us to be there.
Yeah, they should.
Everyone should pay us to be there.
But what do you guys think about picking up games at a convention, like versus eBay? What's your opinion on that?
I do both.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I do both. I'm split. I mean, especially after a year of quarantine, where like most of video game hunting was like on eBay. It was really nice to be in a convention and physically touching the things.
That's true. It's
but
almost
no-
got a memory built in with it.
Yeah,
Right?
and like I used to work in a game store, and so like being around that was fun and like part of the nostalgia experience. That is why we do all this.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like it sometimes, it feels a little safer, with eBay, to buy things, and like just because like you've got that guarantee. I've gotten stuff, especially from resellers who don't know what they're doing. like the stuff that's bootleg or doesn't work or is missing a disc that they didn't know was
fake label.
Didn't know was supposed to be in the thing.
Sure.
And I've never had a problem. I've never even had to go to eBay. Most of these people are so invested in their store's their job. They don't want people knocking. So I've never had an issue.
Yeah.
And if you know what to look for, make sure you're not buying something that's shipping from China. Things like that.
For sure.
But I do, like I said, I do like physical game hunting, and especially at the convention, and seeing it, like, especially like with the big ones, like 3-digit games. I'm like, at least I see that. And like with Sean and I went in together, and Sean got me a discount on Castlevania because we bought DuckTales and Castlevania together. I was really close to just trying to get him to pay for it, but he wouldn't go that far.
Oh, did you guys buy that together at the same
Yeah,
vendor?
we bought. They gave a $15 discount.
Oh, they bundled. Nice.
Yeah.
Guys.
So and Sean was very gracious, since I was getting the more expensive game, to let me have the whole discount.
Yeah, I said I want to get the DuckTales. Well, would you do a deal if I got the Castlevania as well?
Yeah.
And they say, okay, let's see, and he said, yeah, how about 15 off that? And I said, go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
And 300 was the high end of what I wanted to pay for it, and it was that was definitely the cheapest it was at the convention. Cool. But to go with what Sean said, A, I wanted to get home as quickly as I could to put it in my system, and B, I took like 6 business cards, and the place we bought our stuff from was, I think, Video Game Cavern or something. And they were
dude, you bought it from Robin.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I think Sean, like, you verified that they knew Dan and were cool with Dan, and that's why we bought it.
It was
NES Attic?
Jay. Yeah. I was like, you guys know Jay, right? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, then I trust you.
Yeah, Video Game Cavern. See, that's an example of you bought it from a really good place. That if you did have issues, you get hold of Robin. She would have sent you something. You're good there, man.
Yeah.
So,
but no, I like having that backup. I think I'm more inclined to buy from a video game store that's at a convention instead of just some seller that is at a convention, like someone just randomly selling stuff at a convention.
I will say this, with heavy hitters, I've never been bit. Usually the stuff's good, man. And when stuff doesn't work, like I know we were talking about in the chat what happened with J-Love. To be fair, most of the time it's stuff that's like under $10.
Yeah.
So they probably didn't check. They probably didn't clean it. To them it's not as big a deal. But for something that's really rare, I'm sure they're taking care of it. To be honest.
But Sean,
what do you think, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten actually this past year from selling stuff and stuff. I bought some, because of no conventions, I bought some heavy hitters off eBay, and it's been successful. And I actually got, I think I got better deals on eBay than I would have at a convention on some of the titles I got. And in fact, I've been keeping a spreadsheet of, like, I made a list of some games, been adding a little bit to them, but I put like the price at the time I made the list. And then I put like what I paid for it in another column when I get them. And then I put a note on like what specific items, if it happens to be a specific items I sold and how much I sold them for, to make up. So basically how much out of pocket and stuff like that did I pay on these heavy hitters and things like that. So I'm kind of keeping track of the history of it and stuff. Yeah.
That's like the most adult thing I've ever heard in video game collecting.
That's called an IT nerd.
I mean, hey man, at least you pay attention and you're trying to basically not pay for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're trying to sell stuff to pay it, and that's smart stuff, man.
Yeah. I can't bring myself to drop like $300 on a car. It's just like
that brings me to my next question with you guys. What now that we're all looking for rare games, my limit used to be like $100 and some change. Now obviously it's went up because it has to. Yeah. Otherwise your threshold, you're gonna get like nothing. So what's your barrier now? Where's where you're like, it's out of my reach? Nope, I'm not doing it, man. Where's your barrier?
Sean, I'm gonna let you go first.
300.
300 your barrier.
Title. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, but not out of my pocket.
Yeah.
It has to be
Yeah.
ready. My rule is, if you saw my video, is if a retro game is $50 or more, I have to pay 50% of it from selling, trading,
Oh, okay.
something like that. At least 50%, if not the whole thing, you know. But I at least have to pay 50% of it from funds other than the normal account, let's say, you know.
Okay.
That's kind of the rule I'm going by.
Yeah.
That's cool. What about you, John?
I don't know. I don't have a hard set rule, but I do like when I buy heavy hitters, I want to make sure like most of the money comes from trading or selling. I used to be, same boat as you. Like that threshold has gone up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be, I would used to say 60. Like honestly, when I first started, like I was
wow.
like, I don't want to pay more than 60 for a rare game, but now it's clearly 300. I as hard, like I said, I love Castlevania and Dracula X. I've loved getting it home and playing it and having it. It was still really hard to hit that $300 button. So I want to say like 300 as well. Okay. Of course, tomorrow I could wake up and have a passing fancy for stadium events and sell our car and sell sell all our possessions. But no.
Hey guys, I'm taking the bus.
Yeah, I guess. So
who loves ramen?
It was a fun marriage, but stadium events is really a lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 300, but that also comes with like I have to sell and trade stuff. Not spend for a long time, which is much harder for me to do.
For me, it's I would say for me, and this is tough for me because I don't buy and sell very much because I only buy what I want. So I don't have a lot of extra stuff. And to be honest, when it's like filler stuff, I usually just run a giveaway on the channel and I just go, okay, let me just give stuff away. And this is my chance to give back, right?
Yeah.
So that's usually what I do. So I don't pick up all this stuff. I mean, I try to when I can, but I'm not really looking. So it's got to really just fall into my lap.
Yeah.
So I would say I would feel it'd be really hard for me to spend more than like 400. I think at 400 you'd have to just pry the money out of my hand. And the only reason I would say that I could do it and I wouldn't feel so bad is one thing I always say, and this is coming from my wife, and when I was at a convention once, she's like, well, if you ever have buyer's remorse, couldn't you just sell it for at least what you bought it for?
Yeah.
Because they're going up. And I said, yeah, you're right. If I get tired of looking at it on my shelf or if it's an awful game and I just hate it and I'm like, man, why did I buy this? I could totally sell it and at least get probably what you paid for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that kind of helps me to feel better. But I need to get into what you guys are doing where you buy and sell and find stuff. But it's hard, man.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm selling stuff that's actually like just stuff that's been in my collection.
Sure.
Attachment to. I sold like a Neo Geo Pocket because it's like color system because I'm like I don't play it ever.
So you're kind of purging.
Yeah, I'm purging some
gotcha.
stuff.
I already
sold
did
the Neo Geo Gold X system because it's like it's just sitting there. That I got a good deal on at a flea market and was able to flip it. But it's been sitting in my collection for a few years, and I'm like.
And now, is that because, like, when you maybe first started collecting or getting into this hobby, did you just go hardcore?
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of grabbing everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you're like, okay, whoa, calm down. Yeah. Let me keep the stuff I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
That's cool, man. That's
Quick plug for our people, Do You Nerd, the awesome channel by our friends Tom and Lacey, because I think they have Tom's panel about video game collecting from Siege, and Pac-Man Case had this great philosophy that I actually went through, but like he gave it verbiage, and he talked about the phases of collecting. And phase 1 is your childhood. It's like it's that inspiration collection, the stuff you got when you were a kid that you have this immense love for, that inspires you to collect as an adult now. And phase 2 is what I just came out of, what Sean just came out of. Is grabbing everything. Just like, oh my gosh, I want this game, I want this game. And then phase 3 is actually where you kind of like focus in on what you love. and you're able to let go. Like, I just did a purge. I've done a couple of purges, and I'm about to do one more, but I will say the purges are getting smaller and harder.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm at now, like, especially after, because I did a huge one, I think, back in November.
Same here. About the same time, dude.
And it just, I will say that felt great. That's one of my favorite collecting moments ever. Like, just going like, hey, I don't need all
You realize
this.
how much
like,
shovelware you have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just being able, to sell it, and it's even better when you, I also give a lot of stuff away if it's not worth a certain amount. Like,
Sure.
Sometimes I give away certain bigger items. But
Like the Sean.
I didn't give anything
That was
to Sean.
amazing.
That's just me being like, hey, first taste is free. Talk to Captain Algebra about that. That's how I pulled through it with him.
You got those Dracula X's.
I forgot where I was going with. But just like, and now like I enjoy the collection so much more because I can look, and it goes to like what Sean said. I look at things and I either there's an immense love with it, there's a story, or or it's a part of something. Like I have an immense love for my childhood. There's an amazing story, or it just there's a connection there, and that's what I love about where my video game collection is right now.
I love looking at the games and just going banger, 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 banger. All these great games.
Yeah.
And so say you had somebody over like one of you guys, I could point all the way down my, say, PS2 collection right here, and they're just all these really good games.
Yeah.
You got to play this, you got to play this, you got to play this, because that's all I have now. You know what I mean? So I like it like that a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And
hey, John, let me ask you this, though. What made you get into saying, hey, I want the whole Wii U collection? Like, why'd you do that?
At that phase, the Wii U collection I think is the most attainable of any Nintendo. What at this time, because it's 160 games, 170 games. Like the NES collection I think is like 7. Most things are around 700 if it was a successful system.
What about N64?
Ooh,
That's like 300 or so.
Telesplash is on that.
Yeah, Telesplash would be. It's not as big, but it's bigger than the Wii U. The smallest, of course, is the Virtual Boy, but there's also an $800 Virtual Boy game. So heck no, but I do love the Virtual Boy. I've been playing the Virtual Boy a lot lately.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Oh, I can get into some Virtual Boy stuff, but it just the idea seemed really appealing at the time, like to have a complete set. And I didn't need like big editions, like I didn't need every edition, but it just was like, oh man, every physical game that came out in North America I would have on my shelf.
That's cool.
And I do love the Wii U, but then that in itself, like having it up on the shelf, and like I said, I have limited shelf space in my gaming room. I'm like, that is a lot of shelf space that could be taken up by other stuff that I really love. And like I plan to kind of get rid of some of my Wii U. I'm keeping a majority of it. I mean, I will probably still have half of the library. And there's still Wii U games that I want. But I wanted to actually want them and not want them for this thing. Because
cool, I got this title.
And that was just a shift, like I said, to that phase 3. Where like I wanted to love it, not just there's just having it and loving it. And I think that's kind of where you get to in collecting. Like, there's this huge, like, you want the Uncle Scrooge money bin of video games. Like, you just have everything, you dive in, you swim around. But then it's just like, and I moved around a lot as a kid. And so, like, I do get in this mindset, I'm like, do I want to move that? Do I want to take that with me? And especially, with the big move we did 2 years ago, I'm like, oh, God. Like, if we move back or move somewhere else, like, is there value moving that around? So I think, I wanted it just, essentially just to say I had it, just to say I collected every game for a specific console. Cool. But then I got to the point I'm like, it's cool what I have. And I've taken pictures of what
you like rethought it.
Yeah, and I've taken pictures of what I have, and I do love having pictures of like things I've gotten rid of. because I can think back to the moment where I did have that. If it,
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Have you guys ever bought something that you really wanted? My example is I bought this. It's gonna sound goofy. I like really old Nintendo stuff that's really obscure and weird. So I bought the Mario telephone in the box. It's the Mario 2 telephone, and I was actually gonna get it hooked up to here, and I was gonna take calls during my streams. But for giveaways, anybody know the answer to this? And I was gonna answer. Whoever got first won whatever I was gonna give away. And so I got it. And I'm not going to say, like, I have a problem with it now, but it's like, it wasn't as special as I thought it was going to be. Like, once you get something that you really want, then it's kind of like, on to the next thing. You ever feel like that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's been a huge part of me trying to rethink collecting. Because, like, and, like, with Dracula X, like, I've been very pointed. I am playing out of this game. Like, and I am not, because you're right. Like, there's so many things I've gotten, and they went to the shelf, and like I haven't.
And you had to have it before you had it. You're like, dude, I gotta get that.
I've got to get that. Like, and I'm looking at especially the newer consoles. Like, so many games I had to have that I've still not played. And that I think is that's radically changing my thinking.
What about you, Sean? You ever had that happen?
Trying to think.
Or do you just look at stuff and go, no, dude, I wanted that, I got it, and I look at it all the time. I love it.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's cool, though.
Yeah. I mean,
that's cool. So you really buy things you want, man.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's kind of leading to a question I had was, is there a set, or let's say, like, for example, for me, I could look at my Xbox collection and probably pull out a handful of games and be like, yeah, you can have these, or I'm going to sell these, or whatever, and no big deal. But is there a set that's like, you ain't touching any of these? You're not getting them out of my Kung Fu grip. And for me, that's my NES cards. You're not getting my bases loaded on NES. I don't care how common the damn thing is. It's staying. None of my NES cards are leaving this house. In other words, if I organically got the whole NES set, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
and it could happen because I will never get rid of an NES game. Okay. No matter how bad or anything.
And then 8-Bit hires like a security firm, and they're just
exactly.
I guess with me, that's a really good question, and it's really tough because my thing is, like, Captain Algebra got a hold of me the other day, and he was like, "Hey Dan, I know you said you don't really care about a lot of your Genesis manuals, so here's a spreadsheet, and if you don't want any of them, hey, would you mind if I grab them if you don't want them?" He's like, "Only if you don't want them," or whatever. And I was just like, let me take a look. And I noticed something as simple as Triple Play 96. And I have the manual that I am probably never going to read. But I had a hard time going, oh, man, do I give it to Captain Algebra? And I felt like that was so bogus because, he's my friend and stuff. Yeah. And I ended up not doing it yet, and I'm still thinking about it. So that's a really good question, Sean. And I would like to think like that I'm going to give it to him, but it is hard to peel it ever since I purged my collection. Because now everything, this is a game that I rented when I was a kid, and I remember playing it, and I'm like, God, what if I need the manual sometime? But, you start thinking about all this stuff. Yeah. But yet I'm like, my Daniel self goes, that's my friend. He wants it. Yeah. I'm not going to use it. Take it, man. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's probably what I'll do, but it's a lot tougher than you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I actually know exactly. Like, so if you watch Sean's channel, 8BitGlitch over there, and we've hinted at, like, I sent him Game & Wario for the Wii U.
So awesome.
A huge part of that.
So awesome.
Well, I am great. Let's be real.
I've seen that, dude. I was like, dude. No.
Well, someone sent you Dracula X, so I don't want to hear it.
I'm
I'm just saying. I thought that was so cool.
But a part of that, and I want to be honest, like a part of that was like I'm ready. I need to do the hard Band-Aid ripoff of the Wii U. And I was like, it's sat on my shelf. I picked it up years ago for not what it's worth now, so I had no problem there. And I just went. Sean said something about this game at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I am committing myself right now to pulling off this Band-Aid and stopping the Wii U full set collection. And yeah, and that's why that's a huge part of why I did it, was to actually have that moment and to have a good moment with it, not just like I'm done collecting, I'm going to sell this off. Like I want something really cool to come out of this, and that moment for me was really cool. And so that's
why I'm taking this moment to kind of ask for it back, Sean.
Yeah. And by the way, Sean, I'm sorry. I thought I sent you Monster High. And Barbie's Daydream Veterinary Rescue. This is really awkward.
A follow-up video of Bandana just hugging Game and Wario, like, I got you back.
I'm not giving that. I want that game back. I'll give it back to you when I get my Xbox arcade stick. Inside joke there. But no, going back to what you asked about. There's tons of series I love that I would have a hard time parting with. Castlevania, Mega Man, Final Fantasy, and Zelda are probably up there. But I kind of also, there's a part of me is like, one day this might just all be gone. You know, like that's the reality. Like we may move, I may just not be into it anymore. This one right here, and it's kind of funny. We all had sports games, and baseball games actually, and it's Cal Ripken baseball, and that's because this belonged to my one of my best friends of all time. He was a huge baseball fan. He's the reason I started retro game collecting, and yeah, this will never. I will be not breathing when this goes away from me. So yeah, and so that's like what are things in your collection that has a tremendous sentimental value?
I would say any of my NES games that I had when I was a kid, especially especially because my dad just passed away. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff that my dad bought for me, like my original Ninja Gaiden cart. That will not leave. That will not leave me ever. There's even games that actually Zombie JLT sent me. That it's the box for Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on SNES.
Oh, nice!
And that was a game that my dad and me played a lot, and we used to joke around about it a lot. And just having that box just reminds me that at one point in time he bought that, you know. And so having something like that just means a lot to me. You know what I mean? So those are things that I probably can't get rid of, you know.
What about you, Shawnee?
Well, I have my original NES console, and I said in one of my very first Christmas nostalgic days of Christmas, the very first one I did was talking about how I got that and everything. Mm-hmm. And I said in that video, I said if I had to sell everything right now, or if something weird happened and everything was going to disappear, but I got to save one thing, it would be that NES console.
Yeah.
That's it. Just the console itself.
Yep. No. I have the same thing.
Started me love for video games and stuff, and it's the one that I had, you know.
Yep.
No. Do y'all have a lot of stuff that's actually from your childhood in your collections?
Yeah, I actually did a video on that, on the games I had as I was a kid, and most of those, like 99%, there's like literally only like 3 or 4 that for some reason I don't have anymore, and I don't know where they went, that I had to rebuy, that were from my original collection that I still have, never got rid of, always kept them in a house or took them with me. And and I have my original top loader too that my dad bought me. So yeah, stuff like that really I would never get rid of. My kids will have to get rid of it or something, you know.
Yeah, I would say like 90% of my consoles are all consoles that I bought when they came out, and I still have them all. All my NES cards from my childhood and beyond. You know, there was only that small 8-year period where I just stopped collecting.
Yeah.
But I mean, since I could hold a D-pad controller in my hand.
Wow.
I've been collecting, so it just there was that 8-year stint of just everything was in storage.
Yeah.
Everything went away for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of my OG Xboxes, the GameCube, most I'd say 80% of the GameCube games that I have now are all the ones I bought when they came out day one.
Nice.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
And stuff. I saved everything.
Nice.
There are some games when I was a kid that I traded in for other games that I wish I never did, and I wish I still had today.
Did you keep the boxes to your consoles, Sean?
No.
Mm.
I didn't have that mentality of
Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude.
yeah, I was like, oh, it's a cardboard box.
Rip it open.
Yeah, I was just like, whatever. In the garbage you went. Like a lot of my N64s games are games that I bought when they came out.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Cardboards gone.
Yeah.
And
I
wasn't a kid then. I was like 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm like, yeah, I had no space.
Yeah.
I was living in a room at my parents still, like surrounded by stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so keeping these boxes was just not in the cards, you know.
And see that, like, I come back to moving around. Like, when the new one came out, I was fairly quick to let go.
Did you trade it in, man?
Some things, yeah. Like, I remember trading in my PS1 when the PS2 came out. My Nintendo, I remember exactly what happened to my Nintendo. So Super Nintendo came out, and I took my Nintendo over to my grandparents' house because I'd occasionally go over to my grandparents and they'd watch me. And eventually, my grandfather, I got older. My cousins would start hanging out. They were much younger and they didn't really get the Nintendo. And my grandfather's like, hey, can I take this to Goodwill? And I'm like, oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, that hurts. And the thing, like, the one that hurts the most is, like, I took my Super Nintendo. My mom was a pastor. And I was in youth group when the 64 kind of hit, and the PlayStation hit their stride. And so I took my Super Nintendo. I'm like, I'll just hook this up at church and we'll have it to play in the youth room. And I remember Final Fantasy 3. I took with it Earthbound. I remember taking Earthbound with it, and a couple of other games.
Holy cow!
And 2 weeks later they had been stolen, and they were just gone. So that I remember. But it has been fun to go back and find these things. I do have my 64, which I think I got when I was 16, and I have my second Sega Saturn, which I also got when I was in high school. So those are the original ones that kind of just randomly made it through and got through safely. But
is there anything? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, ask your question.
Is there anything that you guys rebought from your childhood that means a lot? Like when you got it, you were like, "Dude, I got it back." Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mine would be. I got the box for it right here. I can't reach it. Screw it. I got WrestleMania 2000 on the N64. When I got that game back, I was like, dude, yes.
Yes. This game's so good. That's such a. I'm not a huge. I actually don't really like the 64, but oh my god, the wrestling games. The wrestling games on that system.
Yes. They're the best, man.
So phenomenal, and they have not been passed. They have not been surpassed at all.
No, I don't think so either.
No. I have lots of those since, I've talked about most of my collection going away. WrestleMania, I remember getting that from JCPenney's when I was a kid, but then I remember rebuying. I think I bought it off eBay. I remember getting it back, that black cartridge. I think the big one's Earthbound, because I did get Earthbound back a couple years ago, and I was like, vengeance is mine.
You had to pay the big price for it?
It was, I had once again, I'd sold a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And it was 3 figures, but it was I think it was 120 when I got it.
That's cool.
So,
that's cool. That's not bad.
Yeah. Sean, since you had everything, did you quest for anything?
Yeah. I was just about to say, I don't know. I still got a lot of my stuff, but I will say this, that I wasn't a kid, but a friend of mine, when Winback came out on the N64, we played the hell out of it and enjoyed it. It was like the only game on the N64 that was like Metal Gear. That was kind of
I'm just gonna ask you that.
Realistic and stuff.
Yeah.
And he had to move away to California for jobs and stuff. and he was actually an aspiring actor. He was trying to make it in acting. And when he was leaving and saying goodbye, I gave him my copy of Win Back and said, "You take it, dude. Something to remember, and stuff like that." And for the longest time, I got it on the PlayStation 2 because they released it on PlayStation 2 with horrible voice acting, so bad it's good. So I had that version to play, but I kind of missed that N64 version of it. So I a couple of years ago, I finally rebought that for my collection.
Nice.
So
that probably
it's not
meant
a
a lot.
childhood thing, but it was a replacement of something that was.
Well, it reminds you of your buddy, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, so we're getting close to where I wanted to wrap up. This has been great. I just want to say thank you,
this has been
both
awesome.
of you guys. This has been a lot of fun. I hope we can do this again. All right, so you're both Nintendo guys, NES guys. Would you confirm that that's your favorite console?
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk me through why.
You want me to go first, Sean?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the first one I ever really dove my hands into, and played the heck out of it. And there's just something special about NES Hard. There's something special about not knowing a whole lot of what to do on games like the crypt stuff. The controls are very basic, but yet very good. Some of my favorite games of all time being like Contra and Punch-Out are some of my favorite games of all time around the system. I just love the old CRT look and just sitting there with one of your buddies or even by yourself. It's more fun with buddies where, we play something like Battle of Olympus like we did not too long ago. And you just try to figure out what to do and you follow the instruction manual and anything it can do to help you. And looking at the old Nintendo Power is just like that world back then, was so special. All the TV shows, the goofy controllers like the Speed Board and the Power Glove and all the goofy stuff. As time went on, a lot of that stuff kind of started to go away. Even at Genesis and Super Nintendo, there wasn't as much goofy stuff. There still was with those, but then it got on to PS2 and PS1 and N64, and it just went less and less. And I just like that old 80s, and it just feels like home to me when I think video games, and I think my favorite ones are on that console. That, let alone, too, everybody talks about how that console has so many bad games, but, dude, it's got so many good games.
Yeah.
As I still continue to play NES, I find more.
Yeah.
There's more.
No.
It's insane. Like Ninja Crusaders, very common, very not really common actually, but price wise, it's kind of low.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's like you just keep finding good stuff. So definitely NES for me, man. But go ahead, Sean.
Wow, how can I top that? He said all the points.
He said the things.
So ditto.
Yeah.
But I will say that it is what started me into playing video games, and it just seemed to have the longest staying power than any other system. To me, it seemed like it had the longest years of run before another system. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, it seems like it's just a few years, another system's already out, and they're already working on the next thing.
That might be because we're old now. Just FYI. That might just because we're old men and we have so much more time now under our belts. But friendly reminder.
Memories. Everybody had one.
Yeah.
So you go to anybody's house, you were playing Nintendo.
Yeah.
It was just great.
Yeah, there was.
I say it in all my unboxings with Video Games Monthly and RGT. It's like I almost always pick the NES game, no matter what it is, as my pick of the month, because as soon as I reach in that box and I feel an NES cart, it's like sparks of memories and happiness just come to fruition into my head. You know what I mean? And that's all it takes. I don't even have to see the game. I just feel the cart, and it's just memories.
Yeah.
It's just
and I think the NES also brings a time back that was so special. as it's the whole reason I have any of this stuff is it all started there. It's all those times when you go on the shelves and you see the game cartridges and they look like, this, and this is what it looked like. Renting video games started to be a huge thing.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, seeing them all on the racks and picking them, and my mom taking me there for $3 you can get all weekend, and her going, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm trying to pick a game out. And she's like, oh, it's okay, go ahead. I have all these memories of just that, and it's all the NES. Yeah. It's all that. And everything else came after, but it was mainly NES, man.
And it started that mystery. That's where the cheat codes and all that stuff, I remember renting at a local video store, and there was a guy there who seemed to know. He was like a walking Nintendo Power. You'd bring a game up to rent, and he'd be like, here, let me help you out. And he'd rip out a piece of paper, and he'd write down all these cheat codes. He knew everything, and give them to you when you rent the games.
How about another quirky thing with the NES, like the Game Genie? You don't hear about Game Genie codes really for Super Nintendo. It was there. You just don't really hear people whip it out and use it or anything like that. No. But with the NES, it was this weird thing like, oh, so-and-so down the street has that Game Genie thing. What? Dude, you put it in there and the big hand comes up.
Yes.
That's the console. You want a Game Genie.
Yeah. It was just so special, man. Yeah. It was just in so many ways.
Yeah.
I will say I do I started that question off like I was anti-Nintendo, and I want to be very clear, I am not.
Oh, for sure.
And I do agree. I have a lot of those nostalgia. That was such a fun system, and getting games for it, and touching playing Mega Man for the first time. Oh, God. I remember the Mega Man 3 at my babysitter's house.
Yeah.
And all those things to just try. And just learning and the infancy of mainstream gaming. I mean, we had the 80s video game and then the Crash, and then this new thing came back. And do want to point out Nintendo was very pointed making sure only quality games came out for it to the best of their abilities.
And it was also talked about almost like being bad, which is why you had the games like Bible Adventures and Joshua, because it was looked at like, well, these kids, that's all they do now, and this is a bad thing. And it was so new and different. Yeah. And let alone, let's talk about, too, just look at Atari graphics and then look at NES.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, mind-blowing at the time. Can you imagine? I try to picture a time when it was the same, and the only thing I can think of that I always compare it to is, if you look at especially the sports games on PS1, and then go to Madden 2001 on PS2, it was whoa!
Yeah.
They're adjusting their chin straps, and they're grabbing their masks, and they're talking, and it's
oh yeah,
holy cow! When it was a blurry thing on PS1, well, that was the same jump back then. They're like, whoa, there's multiple worlds on Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
What the? AVGN talked about that, how you might think it's silly to think that you get done with a level and that's the whole game, but he's like, that's how it used to be. Yeah. You get done with one or two screens and that's all it was, man. And then you just repeat. But NES had this new thing of Legend of Zelda has this map it comes with, and you got to find everything, and it's this adventure, and everybody at school's talking about it. It's just so special.
Such a special.
I mean, you're naming all these franchises. That's where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have Castlevania. Dude. We wouldn't have Mega Man. We wouldn't have Mario Brothers. We wouldn't have
Contra.
Yep. All those.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Speed Board, which has definitely made its impact. And, by the way, if you want a great video on the Speed Board, make sure to check out Megadance channel.
We did a speedboard run.
But yeah, no, I think for me, I will say I do have a little bit more nostalgia for the Super Nintendo, because I'm with you, that evolution. I remember seeing Super Mario World for the first time. It's never getting better. You can't top these graphics.
You're right. You know what game I'll say about the Super Nintendo that did that real quick? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Keep going.
Is Super G&G, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Dude, back then those graphics were whoa. Yeah. That was crazy. but go ahead.
That's what started getting to look like the arcades.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You guys, on that note, do you guys feel that, like, I mean, Nintendo to Super Nintendo, it was like a big jump,
Mm-hmm.
and graphically and gameplay wise, and then even to go on to like N64 and all. But do you really see the last few generations? It's just kind of been like just a notch.
Yeah,
notch.
That's what I've said. Yeah, I say the same thing to Peyton all the time.
Slightly better.
Yeah, we've hit diminishing returns on graphical fidelity, if you want to use technical jargon. But yeah, I mean, we've hit a point like games honestly might not be able to get better graphically. I mean, we have like you can do the like nitpicking stuff with like ray tracing. I will say though, I think there's a beautiful thing that's happened because of that. Like you now have a thriving indie scene where you see like amazing 2D and old school games, Cyber Shadow, Shovel Knight, Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, which you could not have done. Like that is the one thing like that I think is better now. Because like when the 64 and the PlayStation hit, games had to be 3D. They were 3D or like they were garbage.
Yeah.
And that was such a mentality. Like you can look at reviews and they're like, "Well, this is an okay game." Like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the Street Fighters of that time. This is an okay game, but it's kind of dated at this point, and it's just like
I'll say nowadays, if I think that what I think that they go for when they go, okay, PS5. Like, it's not always visual. What I think it is you can do so much more in the game now. Now you can make decisions. You can go literally do whatever you want. And all these NPCs are going to adjust to it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, dude, Red Dead Redemption 2 was one that I played where I'm like, they remember me doing that? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You know, that was insane to me. So I think that's the stuff. The AI gets smarter. You can just do more, and I think that's what today's games are trying to do. Yeah.
And then I love like how they're going with like I love loving playing the PlayStation VR. So I like doing new experiences and new. Let me play a game in a different way now. You know what I mean? And so I'm kind of liking that, going down that path now.
Yeah.
Have you tried the new Resident Evil in VR, Sean?
Oh, Sean! He clearly has. It scared him so much he froze. I can't tell if he's frozen or if that's just his normal look. So I think Sean is
freezing on him.
I think Resident Evil freaked Sean out so bad. I know Sean has talked about having internet problems, but this also might be a good time to start wrapping up. Because I think we need to do another one of these at a later date.
Yeah,
I hope we do.
Again. Yeah.
So really quick, Dan, of course, links to both 8BitGlitch79 and MEGADAN29. Their links to their YouTube channels will be below. Any other social media things you want to share with people?
I am very active on Instagram. If you ever want to talk or something, it's the MEGADAN29. That's which one I'm on the most.
Hey, I think Sean's moving again. So Sean, really quick, did you play?
My internet is glitching out, so I'm gonna do it quick.
It's on brand. I think you need to thank your internet.
Everything. Yeah, internet. I'm on the internet. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at 8BitGlitch79.
All right,
all three,
and
I'm on YouTube, of course.
Yes, and of course, Bandana Gamer is on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I think you can tell that I'm on YouTube. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit that like button and give me a subscribe. And if you want to see more episodes or format like this, let me know. This is kind of like a pilot idea that I had in passing, and I'm so fortunate, so thankful to have such good friends as these two amazing gentlemen. And hopefully we will be doing this again. I'm hoping often. And we'll hopefully bring some more of our YouTube family along for the drive. And you know what? I was gonna ask if Sean had played Resident Evil in VR, but I'm gonna say to be continued. I'm not gonna let him answer that until the next time we do this, and so that'll be the first thing we get to. So that'll be it for this one, my friends. I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.